What if I told you the US military just teleported an object 200 miles in less than a blink? No rocket, no sound, no warning. Just gone here, appeared there. Leaked reports say it's real. Quantum tech, AI stabilization, and a Pentagon project so secret it makes Area 51 look like Disneyland. In China, full-blown panic mode. State media says it's fake, but their generals aren't so sure. Is this the next Cold War weapon? Or the beginning of science fiction becoming real life? Buckle up. We're diving into Project Rift in what might be the most powerful breakthrough in human history, the teleportation bombshell. Okay, so imagine waking up to the news that your country has just broken physics. That's basically what happened when a classified leak revealed the US military had completed a successful teleportation test. Not in some far-off future, but now. We're talking about a non-living object being moved 200 miles in 0.05 seconds. And no, there wasn't any giant machine, laser beam, or wormhole glowing in the sky. This was clean, silent, instant, and completely invisible. This wasn't just some theory or lab rumor. It was reportedly tested under a top-secret Pentagon program called Project Rift. The military kept things tight, but insiders say this test used an advanced quantum entanglement system, stabilized by AI, to pull off the jump. Think of it like sending a file on the internet, but instead of data, it was matter, the kind of matter that, just a few years ago, we thought could never be moved like this. And here's the thing, there were no traces left behind. No heat, no sound, no radio signals. It was like the payload vanished from one spot and snapped into another. That's why this isn't just big, it's historic. One defense analyst called it the Manhattan Project of Movement, and some are already saying this changes everything from warfare to world travel. So why haven't you seen this on the front page of every news site? Simple. This is military tech, and the moment the test leaked, the Pentagon went silent. But insiders are talking, and what they're saying? Well, it makes nuclear weapons look like old news. This isn't the kind of weapon that destroys cities. It's the kind that lets you skip geography entirely. No signatures, no noise, no limits. If that's real, the rules of war just changed overnight. Former DARPA advisor via anonymous forum post. Now you might be wondering, what exactly is Project Rift? Is it real or just another cover name? Let's zoom in on the program itself, the minds behind it, and why the US picked this moment to unveil the biggest military flex in modern history. Welcome to Project Rift. Project Rift isn't some comic book concept. It's real, and according to leaks, it stands for Rapid Interdimensional Field Translocation. Sounds wild, right? But it's backed by some of the smartest minds on Earth, including DARPA, MIT's Quantum Initiative, and a team of AI engineers deep in Nevada. That's right, the same kind of minds that brought us the internet and GPS are now working on teleportation. So what is it? Sources say Rift works by using quantum entanglement to link two places together in real time. Then, using an AI lattice to stabilize the connection, the system can send objects across that link. It's not a laser beam, it's not a portal, it's more like cut and paste in the real world. One moment the object's here, the next it's wherever you want it to be. What's even crazier, this tech isn't totally brand new. Whispers about Rift started around 2018, but nobody took it seriously until now. MIT researchers had already been experimenting with quantum teleportation of information, but the military found a way to do it with actual matter. That leap? It's like going from a telegram to instant video calls overnight. But don't expect a demo anytime soon. The facility where this test happened is rumored to be somewhere in the Nevada desert, near other classified testing grounds. There's zero footage, and only one known eyewitness described it as the quietest miracle I've ever seen. If Rift is real, then we've officially left the era of movement. Now we're playing with placement. Tech analyst at a closed-door DARPA conference. So you're probably wondering how the heck this even works. Like, is this magic? Or is it real science we just didn't think was possible? Let's break it down in plain language. No sci-fi jargon, so you can actually understand how teleportation might already be here. Teleportation 101. Teleportation might sound like a Marvel movie plot, but let's break it down in real terms. The science behind this is called quantum entanglement. Basically, it means two particles can become connected in such a way that changing one instantly affects the other, no matter how far apart they are. It's weird, it's real, and Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. Now, the military didn't stop at spooky, they added AI. What makes Project Rift different is that it uses artificial intelligence to stabilize something called an entanglement lattice. Imagine a network of tiny particle links stretched between two locations. The AI holds it all steady, and once it's locked in, the system sends the payload across, not by moving it, but by copying and reconstructing it in the new location. Kind of like printing an object out of thin air. There's no rocket fuel, no engine, and no sound. Since nothing's physically flying through the air, radar doesn't pick it up. There's also no heat signature, which means infrared cameras are useless. It's like the object was never there until suddenly it is. Now here's the game changer. This isn't just about science, it's about speed. Because Rift doesn't just move objects fast, it removes the concept of distance entirely. One military source put it like this: if time and space can be bypassed, then strategy just became obsolete. It's not that we're moving faster, it's that we're not moving at all. That's what's so dangerous about this. Quantum engineer, off-record interview. And now let's talk about the elephant in the room, China. Because the second news of this teleportation tech dropped, the Chinese military hit the panic button. And their reaction? Let's just say it revealed a lot more than they probably wanted to admit. China's reaction. The moment the teleportation news leaked, China scrambled. Hard. Within hours, Chinese state-affiliated social media accounts were all over it, calling it Western propaganda and trying to paint the U.S. test as a bluff. But here's the twist. Leaked communications from within the Chinese military say the exact opposite was happening behind the scenes. In internal PLA messages intercepted by U.S. Cyber Command, Chinese generals were reportedly in full-blown crisis mode. One even warned, if the Americans truly have this, our missile defense is obsolete. That's not the kind of thing you say when you're confident. The fear wasn't just about the teleportation itself. It was about what the U.S. could do with it, like bypassing air defense systems or even deploying weapons inside Chinese territory without ever launching a missile. At the same time, Chinese state scientists tried to do damage control. They began referencing their failed 223 quantum relay experiment, which barely managed to send information 5 meters using photons. Compared to the US's 200-mile matter transfer, it's like trying to compare a tricycle to a jet fighter. China knows they're behind, and the desperation is showing. Even more interesting, Chinese media was instructed to avoid covering the story altogether, instead pushing unrelated topics and flooding Weibo with random news, a classic case of misdirection. But it didn't work. Chinese tech bloggers and foreign analysts picked up on the silence. And as we all know, silence speaks volumes. They're not calling it fake because they believe it's fake. They're calling it fake because they hope it's fake. Defense intelligence consultant on X. So now that we know China's freaking out, let's talk about why this tech is such a big deal. Why are people calling teleportation the God move in warfare? What makes it so much more powerful than missiles, drones, or even nukes? Let's break it down. The invisible game changer. Teleportation changes the game not because of its firepower, but because of its invisibility. Every weapon in history, from arrows to atom bombs, relies on being seen, tracked, and defended against. But with teleportation, there's no warning, no incoming signal, no sound, just impact. Imagine being able to place a weapon directly inside a bunker, or deliver medics right behind enemy lines without needing a helicopter. One Pentagon official said, "This isn't just logistics, it's instant access to anywhere. If you can go anywhere, where you win, because distance, defenses, and delays don't matter anymore. The real kicker? You can't stop what you can't detect. Missile defense systems work because they track trajectories. Anti-drone systems use radar. But a teleported object doesn't fly through space. It just appears. No path, no radar lock, no defense. That's why this tech makes even nuclear weapons look old school. This also changes how nations project power. Right now, countries use aircraft carriers and bases to flex their muscles. But what happens when you don't need a base? When your troops can show up instantly in a city, a mountain, or a desert? Suddenly, the US doesn't just have power. It has everywhere power. Invisibility has always been the dream of warfare. Now it's not a dream, it's at a button. Retired NATO cyber defense advisor. That's the scale of what we're talking about. Undetectable movement that redefines the battlefield. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Former President Donald Trump may have been dropping clues about this tech long before anyone knew. Let's rewind the tape and see what he's really been saying. Trump's red button. Donald Trump is known for bold statements, especially when it comes to America's military strength. But some of his most outrageous sounding quotes? Yeah, they hit different now. Remember when he said, "We have weapons that nobody even knows about, more powerful than anything anyone's ever seen." At the time, it sounded like exaggeration. Now, maybe not. Let's go back to his iconic 2018 post about his nuclear button. He tweeted, "My button is bigger and more powerful." And it actually works. Sure, it was aimed at North Korea, but think deeper. Trump was clearly referencing tech that wasn't just about explosions. It was about control. He followed up years later saying America had weapons that nobody can even understand. Insiders now believe Trump may have been briefed on Project Rift during his presidency. He's not known for keeping secrets easily, so it's likely some of his vague comments were veiled nods to teleportation or other black budget weapons. In fact, during one interview, he stopped himself mid-sentence saying, "Maybe that's what you're referring to, or maybe it's not." There's also the drone story. Remember those mysterious giant drones flying over New Jersey near one of Trump's golf courses? Local mayors saw them. Civilians caught them on video. The feds called it testing. But what if that test wasn't drones, it was teleportation calibration? Rumors suggest Trump may have witnessed early field trials firsthand. It's far more powerful than people understand, and it's not even close. Donald J. Trump, in an off-the-cuff rally remark. So if Trump knew and China panicked, and the US military has quietly mastered teleportation, what else is being tested in the shadows? Because the stories don't stop at invisible tech. Let's take a look at the mysterious drones, secret projects, and insider whispers from the desert. Witnesses, drones, and skunk works whispers. Let's talk about the mystery that's been buzzing across forums and black budget blogs. The drones that weren't drones. Back in 2022, several towns in New Jersey reported giant, silent aerial objects, roughly the size of minivans, hovering over homes at night. Local mayors even filed reports. Civilians posted shaky videos. But instead of panic, the government calmly said it was just research. Weirdly casual for something that looked like alien tech. Now here's where it gets interesting. These sightings happened right near Trump's Bedminster golf course, a known spot he often visited during his presidency. Could this location have been selected for more than just leisure? Some say these objects were calibration tools for early teleportation tests, not drones in the traditional sense. They weren't flying. They were being placed midair. Enter Lockheed Skunk Works, the most secretive branch of American aerospace. These are the minds behind stealth jets, spy planes, and tech decades ahead of its time. Before he passed, Skunk Works director Ben Rich told his close friend, Jim Goodall, "Anything you've seen on Star Trek, we've already done it." That includes cloaking, teleportation, and advanced propulsion. Whispers around classified programs suggest that teleportation isn't just a new idea. It's been in the works since the 90s. The difference now? It's stabilized, it's scalable, and it's finally usable. Former insiders have dropped hints, but it's only in the last year that all these pieces, Trump's cryptic remarks, AI advancements, and drone sightings, started forming a much bigger picture. It's not at Area 51, it's out in the desert there. And yes, it's real. Jim Goodall, military aviation historian. So if these field tests were happening right under our noses, and secret labs like Skunk Works were behind the curtain, then where does teleportation actually stand today? Let's look at the other futuristic tech already being used and how teleportation takes it to a whole new level. Directed energy was just the beginning. Let's rewind a bit because laser weapons or directed energy weapons, DEWs, are already real and active. In fact, Ukraine and Israel have both used laser tech to take down drones and missiles. The U.S. Navy tested a laser system that could vaporize targets mid-air. So the leap from lasers to teleportation might seem huge, but in military terms, it's just the next step forward. Laser weapons focus on projecting energy. They burn, blind, or destroy using concentrated light. They're effective, but they're still limited by distance and line of sight. That's where teleportation jumps in. It doesn't project energy, it relocates matter. That's a completely different kind of power. One doesn't fight the enemy, the other places you on top of them. Teleportation also removes the cost of conflict. No fuel, no travel time, no supply chain headaches. Imagine sending an entire first aid team into a war zone instantly, or teleporting a surveillance drone onto a rooftop and back again without ever being seen. DEWs were revolutionary, but teleportation, it's a paradigm shift. And here's a chilling thought. You wouldn't know you're under attack until it's already over. No missile radar, no explosion, just a sudden failure in your systems, or worse, a device inside your perimeter. Military strategists are already calling teleportation the clean kill tech. No noise, no trace, no public fallout. Lasers are the future of warfare, but teleportation is the end of it. Senior Air Force research officer. So if directed energy weapons were the warm-up act, teleportation is the main event. And the US government isn't even hiding the big idea anymore. Let's talk about the official confirmation from the White House itself about manipulating time and space. The time-space mic drop. You'd think something like manipulating time and space would come from a sci-fi film, right? Wrong. It came from a real person, Michael Kratsios, the former director of the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. During a speech at the Endless Frontiers retreat, he casually dropped this line: "Our technologies allow us to manipulate time and space. They leave distance annihilated." Hold up, annihilated? That's a big word. Not reduced, not minimized, gone. And this wasn't some poetic metaphor. He was talking about the actual capabilities of new U.S. technologies, quietly being tested and refined behind the scenes. For those in the know, this was the closest thing to a government soft confirmation of teleportation. The quote immediately raised eyebrows across the tech and defense community. Analysts broke it down frame by frame, sentence by sentence. Most agreed he wasn't talking about fiber optic speeds or better logistics. He was describing quantum repositioning of matter. As one former MIT physicist put it, that's not hype, that's disclosure. If we can now ignore distance and reshape time as a factor, it changes everything from military ops to global shipping. This isn't just warfare tech, it's civilization-shifting tech. In one interview, Kratsios even seemed nervous, wiping his brow as he hinted that we're capable of so much more. Maybe even more than the public is ready to hear. We've crossed the threshold. Distance is now optional. Michael Kratsios, White House Science Director. Now that the White House has basically admitted we're bending time and distance, you've got to ask what else is happening behind the scenes. And could this technology explain some of the strangest mysteries of the last decade? One theory says, yes, and it involves a disappearing plane and some very suspicious orbs. The missing plane theory. You've probably heard about MH370, the Malaysia Airlines flight that vanished without a trace in 2014. No debris, no black box, no solid explanation, just gone. But what if the explanation was ever mechanical failure or a crash? What if the plane was removed? Some theorists now believe teleportation might explain what happened. This brings us to Ashton Forbes, an engineer and investigator who spent years studying MH370 and the mysterious orb footage surrounding it. The video shows three glowing plasma-like balls circling the plane before it disappears. Skeptics said it was CGI, but infrared analysis showed no heat signature, which matches what we now understand about quantum teleportation, cold IR transition without thermal spikes. Forbes and others argue that the orbs weren't drones or missiles. They were stabilizers, prepping the aircraft for translocation. He believes powerful interests didn't want the flight's passengers to arrive. Wild? Maybe. But now that we've heard the White House say things like distance is annihilated and seen the Pentagon testing teleportation, people are taking this theory seriously. There's even talk that MH370's disappearance may have been a trial run, an early, unstable teleportation attempt that didn't go as planned. It would explain the silence, the lack of radar data, and the fact that not one single part of that plane has ever been conclusively tied to the wreckage. If true, it would be the first covert use of teleportation in modern history. I'm not saying it's aliens, I'm saying it's us. And we've had this tech longer than anyone thinks. Ashton Forbes. Okay, so we've gone from plasma orbs to vanishing planes, but let's bring it back to the battlefield. What would this technology mean in real combat situations? From rescue missions to wiping out enemies without a fight, the next chapter is weaponized displacement, and it's terrifying. Weaponized displacement. Let's paint a picture. You're defending a military base. Everything's quiet. Then suddenly, a device appears in your command center. Not flown in, not dropped, it just materializes. That's the power of weaponized teleportation. No warning, no buildup, no way to respond. This tech isn't just for offense. Imagine evacuating soldiers from a combat zone instantly. No helicopters, no convoys, just teleport them to safety. It changes how we think about battlefield medical care, hostage rescue, and extraction missions. You're no longer fighting to get to a place, you're already there. And then there's stealth. Teleportation allows for the ultimate sneak attack. You could place a bomb inside an underground bunker or insert a cyber device in the heart of a data center without opening a single door. Cyber warfare, sabotage, infiltration, teleportation turns strategy into instant execution. The craziest theory? Displacement weapons. Instead of blowing something up, you just move it. Take an enemy jet and teleport it 30,000 feet higher. Instant stall. Or shift a warship 5 miles off course into hostile territory. You don't destroy, you displace. It's silent, strange, and almost impossible to defend against. Imagine fighting a war where your enemy just disappears. That's where we're headed. Former U.S. Joint Ops Commander. So what does this mean for global power? When you have the ability to be anywhere, anytime, and your enemies can't even see it coming, that's dominance. Let's talk about how this flips the entire world order and why China, Russia, and even NATO are racing to catch up. The global chessboard just flipped. Until now, global dominance was all about location. Aircraft carriers, military bases, missile silos. You needed presence to project power. But with teleportation, that's gone. Power now means you can be anywhere, instantly. And that's a terrifying edge the U.S. may now fully control. For countries like Russia and China, this is a nightmare. Their entire defense structure is built around missile tracking, radar coverage, and response windows. If a weapon or soldier can simply appear inside their borders with no warning, those systems are completely obsolete. One Chinese strategist allegedly said, "This makes geography meaningless. We are vulnerable from within." Meanwhile, NATO allies are being quietly briefed. Insiders say top European officials were flown into a classified demonstration of Rift capabilities earlier this year. The goal? To reassure allies and warn potential adversaries that America's not just ahead in the arms race. We've changed the race entirely. But there's also an opportunity. If this tech expands beyond war, it could transform global logistics, cargo, emergency aid, even people, moved without planes, ships, or roads. But for now, the military has its grip tight, and with good reason. As one analyst said, it's not just about who has teleportation, it's about who controls it. The U.S. hasn't just changed warfare. They've redefined space, strategy, and sovereignty. European Intelligence Agency official. So now the question becomes, are we heading into a new Cold War or the start of an entirely different era? Either way, we've reached the edge of secrecy. One final piece left. What happens now? Do we get full disclosure or just deeper shadows? What happens now? All right, so here we are. We've gone from invisible tech to military teleportation, from Trump's mysterious red button to vanishing planes, and everything in between. But now comes the most important part of the story. What happens next? Do we get the truth, or are we just scratching the surface of something much bigger? Right now, everything we've seen, from Project Rift to the distance annihilated quote, feels like controlled disclosure. Bits and pieces being leaked, hinted at, or casually mentioned in speeches and interviews. Why? Because you don't just drop a bombshell like teleportation on the world overnight. The public isn't ready. And global rivals? They're still scrambling to understand how far behind they really are. Some believe the next phase will be civilian tech rollouts, teleportation used in medicine, logistics, maybe even emergency response. Just like GPS started as a military tool and slowly became part of everyday life, this might follow a similar path. But the difference, GPS didn't break the laws of physics. This does. And because of that, don't expect teleportation. Boost at the mall anytime soon. There's also the risk. What happens when other countries catch up? Will Russia or China develop their own version of Rift? Could rogue actors get access to it? The idea of teleporting a nuclear warhead or disrupting global communications with an undetectable device isn't just a plot, it's a potential future. And one miscalculation could start a conflict we can't control. For now, the US holds the edge, but secrecy can't last forever. More leaks are coming, more insiders will talk. And as one Pentagon advisor put it, you can't hide a revolution in physics forever. Whether it's next year or next decade, the era of instant Lowishan, invisible movement, and rewritten rules is coming. And nothing will ever be the same. We've moved beyond missiles, beyond movement. The battlefield is now reality itself. Anonymous U.S. defense official. So, if teleportation is real, what happens next? Do we see military dominance like never before? Or a complete rewrite of reality as we know it? One thing's clear, this isn't sci-fi anymore. It's now, and it's changing everything, from global power to everyday life. But how long can a secret this big stay hidden? Let us know what you think in the comments. Is this a revolution in science or something even bigger? Smash that like button, subscribe for more mind-blowing breakdowns, and stay tuned. Because if this is just the beginning, the future is about to get weird.